Hello there, and welcome to Gina Gardiner and Friends. And we've got a great show for you again today. I am so pleased to welcome my friend Phil Street. Phil and I met at Collaboration Global, and you'll already have met Jill Tiney, who is the founder of that. But Phil has an amazing story and a great attitude to life. And the whole of today's show is about waking up to the power of I can do it. Let me tell you a little bit about Phil before we start our conversation. Phil's worked in the hospitality industry for nearly 30 years, and he now has a recruitment company which focuses very much on the hospitality industry. He's the host of two podcasts, his own one, which is called Hospitality Meets, and he also has a show on the Institute of Hospitality's official podcast station, and he's been doing that for a while. But actually, today we're going to be talking about Phil the man and his attitude to life and the waking up to having a can-do attitude. So Phil, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for asking me. Yeah, I feel very privileged to be here today.
Oh, thank you. So just explain to our listeners, your background, how you came to wake up one morning and recognize that you needed a can-do attitude to life.
Yeah, well, it's a very big question, but for me, it was very, very clear. I actually needed to be one of these people that had something bad happen to them in order for them to start becoming themselves a little bit more, if that makes any kind of sense at all. I think I definitely suffered through up until the age of about 39 with this fear of other people's opinions. And that really restricted my own, I suppose my own belief in my own capability. And then cut to age 39, I got a diagnosis for a health condition called tethered cord syndrome. And to paint the very simple picture of that, my spine is tethered. Sorry, my spinal cord is tethered to my spine, whereas it should dangle free. And that's actually not had any kind of life-limiting issues with me until that age. But now I can recount, actually, I can go back through my life and recount little episodes that now make a lot more sense. And it was at the time when I got the diagnosis, I definitely retreated into my shell a little bit with it. Why does this happen to me? All of these sorts of things. I suppose it's part of the process of figuring it all out. Up until that point, I was very, very physical. I enjoyed sport immensely and spent a lot of time running and all of these things, which then at the time, the doctor told me, oh, you probably can't run now. And then, of course, you go about your practice. Okay, I need to figure out ways of becoming more physical and all of these sorts of things. But at the same time, when you're telling everybody you know and love around this new thing that you've got in your life, they're also imprinting onto you all of this stuff that you cannot do anymore.
Yes.
And I was believing it all, taking it all in. And then one day, and I have no idea why I had this epiphany or why I woke up this day, but I just had this very, very simple mindset shift change. Stop focusing on stuff that you can't do, and let's start exploring the stuff that you can. And that's just made so much difference to my outlook, the way that I handle this. The reality is that everything is still possible. You've just got to test yourself and don't let other people's opinions be the thing that gives you your own opinion.
There's such a lot in there, isn't there?
I mean, yeah, a lot to unpack.
How many people are living their life through the lenses of other people's opinion? I can't do that. Absolutely. Because, or people expect me to. And I think so often that moment when you recognize that the opinion that matters most is your own is a real watershed in people's lives. And some people never meet that.
Yeah.
And I think that it's important to make the distinction. That doesn't mean that you don't care about the impact of what you do or how you are on other people. That's not what we're talking about. But it is when you limit yourself because other people have created their comfort zone for you. So you've got
Yeah.
your own comfort zone that you operate within, and then you've got other people's comfort zone. And often people, for all the right reasons, because they don't want you to get hurt, will limit you. And I know
Absolutely.
that from personal experience. I mean, people on the show may not know that I am still a wheelchair user, although I can walk. But I've had long periods of time when I have been wheelchair bound. And I think one of the reasons why this theme resonates so much with me is having a can-do attitude has made an enormous difference to my life. But let's carry on in the sense that you've woken up, you've decided you're going to have a can-do attitude that's not determined by other people. So what now? How did life change?
Yeah, well, it changed immeasurably. And I say it changed immeasurably. My outlook changed immeasurably, and now it's. I suppose it's one of those things. It's kind of also, it's a blessing and a curse, because now I'm not content. I feel like I have so much to do. It's like an awakening. That's the only way to kind of describe it. And I've having been restricted by all of my life by thinking about, what will people think if I do this and all of that sort of stuff. And now I'm like, well, just do what feels right to you, and then worry about any consequences of that later. That's from I should say, I do generally know the difference between right and wrong in my own mind. I'm not about to go off and do anything tragic or horrible, but there was this moment where I thought, right, okay, so at the moment, this condition that I have doesn't limit my life too much. There are little bits and pieces here and there. I have intermittent pain down my left leg. My outside toe has started to curl under, which basically means that the signals are not getting down to the foot as well as they used to. My lumbar region is affected, so that's toilet function. Just means that I've got to plan journeys a little bit more than perhaps other people do. But none of these things I would consider to limit my life in any way, but it is a deteriorating ailment, and it is likely to get worse over time. So I can still choose to go for an operation to fix that, but in my case, it's a very complicated operation, and it's very high risk as a result of it, which could mean opening up other issues which are far greater. So I'm still weighing all this up in my mind and still doing a lot of research as to what's right and wrong to do with this. But in the meantime, I got to thinking about the future, really, and what might that look like in 20, 30, 40 years' time, if I'm lucky enough to make it that far. And there's a charity called Shine that deal here in the UK. They deal with spina bifida and related ailments, and this ailment that I have is on the spina bifida spectrum.
Right.
So I thought, well, maybe one day I'll need these guys, so why not do some fundraising for them now while you can?
You've decided to help Smile, the charity that helps
Shine.
I beg your pardon.
Yeah, that's all right.
The charity that helps people who have spina bifida and related conditions. So what are you going to do? Well,
I've always been somebody that craves experience. That's not changed through an outlook at all. I've always been the sort of person that wants to go out and experience life and see what it has to offer. And so I thought, what can I do to fundraise? And so I thought, well, maybe you can, but let's not focus on a run at the moment in time, because to be honest, I mean, the doctor did tell me that I can't run. I have since tried, and I have good days and bad days. And it's one of those things that, I wouldn't want to push myself into a physical activity that relied on me to be, fit and well on any given day to go and do a marathon or whatever it might be. So I thought, well, but you can still walk. So let's look at doing a walk. And my brain cut to straight to, okay, well, you don't want to do any walk. You want to do something that brings that experience element to you, that, you know, that's something that you can go out and really get involved with. And so I just cut straight to Land's End to John O'Groats,
Now,
which is,
for people who don't know, that's from the very top of the UK to the very bottom of the UK.
yeah.
How many miles?
It's well, it depends on the route you take, but my objective with this is to do an off the beaten track route rather than roads and things like that, which is longer. So that takes it into the realm of about 1,200 miles.
And that's over a wide variety of terrain.
Yes, yeah, very much so. Some flat, some hilly.
Hilly.
Yeah.
Some more than hilly. And how long are you planning for this to actually take?
That's a little bit up in the air, because it's funny how things happen, but through the context of being quite open about my condition and talking to pretty much anybody who wants to listen to me about it, that put me in contact with somebody who's a producer for a filmmaking company, and they picked it up and said, this is actually a really interesting story. So we've entered into many conversations around how and when, so now it's not just about planning a walk, it's about planning a film.
Yes.
As well. And that really appealed to my experience part. This is a new thing for me, to go and make a film about something, but also then to the goodness that can do, actually, because it's not just my own experience, then somebody else out there who might be experiencing similar, not even similar from a conditional perspective, but actually just
the challenge and recognizing that the limitations you put on yourself will become your reality, don't they?
Yeah, totally. And I think I've always viewed myself as kind of Mr. Joe Average, really. And so even if now I'm kind of coming out of that a little bit, hopefully this film will also demonstrate to people that if you are kind of just a regular person getting on with your life, it doesn't mean that you can't go off and do something really incredible.
I find that interesting at so many levels, that, you know, by doing something that challenges you and challenges your preconceptions about who you are and what you can do, there is a huge impact on you as a person. And I'll share a story in a moment in terms of my watershed moment. Then there's the issue of you're going to raise money for and awareness for the charity, which in itself leaves a different sort of legacy, in that then can go on to create resources and help for people in a similar situation.
Yeah.
But the third level leaves a legacy which is very different and so much bigger, in the sense that it'll reach more people. People who don't have the condition can then take on board the principle of, how are you limiting yourself? Here is somebody who considers themselves Joe Average, who has done this amazing feat despite the challenges. What are you going to do? And also people who have the physical challenges, recognizing, I could be self-limiting, I can have a go at something more.
Yeah.
My watershed moment, as I said to you at the beginning of the program, I've been a wheelchair user since 1987, and have had long periods where I've been completely wheelchair bound. I ran a school from my wheelchair, and whilst I was serving as a principal or head teacher, I worked in a number of different ways, because the school budget was so poor. And so I would go out and work with other schools. I worked as an advisor for the government. I worked for the National College of Leadership. And people would look at what I was doing and saying, you know, that's amazing, you're doing it from a wheelchair. I have to say I didn't find it amazing at all, but what I did. But I went on a Tony Robbins course in 2006. And at the beginning of the first day, he was talking about a course that he was running in California, Date with Destiny. And I really fancied it. I wanted to go. But I thought, do you know what? It's too difficult. I didn't have an electric travel chair at that time. And I thought, how would I manage? So I just dismissed it. That day that we did the fire walk, and that's walking on hot coals in bare feet. And if you're in the right mindset, you don't get burned. And although I could only walk a very few steps with help at that time, I was determined to do the fire walk.
Brilliant.
Which I did. And I was ecstatic when I finished it. And I sat down on my chair, and the guy behind me, who I have no idea who he is, but he changed my life. He was a double amputee. He tipped himself up onto his hands and he walked those hot coals on his hands.
Wow.
And
Goodness.
in that moment, I recognized that I was self-limiting. I booked my ticket, I booked my flight, I went off, I had a fabulous time. Since then, I did all of his stuff. I became a senior leader. I've traveled the world for work and for personal pleasure. That guy taught me the only thing that limits us is us.
Yeah.
If you think you can't, it's a done deal. If you think you can, then it's about how you solve the issues. You look for solutions to make that possible.
Oh, totally. I think even it kind of becomes part of your natural psyche, in the sense of it's now not even just about my condition, it's about having that mindset with everything that you do. It's hugely powerful.
So Phil, you're facing planning the walk and doing the walk. So tell us more about how your can-do attitude is coloring not just this project, but your life.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the thing that I've come to realize is that with having this kind of mindset is that actually you're not kind of scared by adversity moments, the things that happen to you or happen around you that really impact you. And I think they just become more challenges to solve. And, I take the last 2 years as a real case in point. I mean, we've all had to cope with dealing with the pandemic in very different ways. And, assuming you've not been badly affected from a health perspective, then there are other elements to this that really, I think, have helped society in a huge way, just in terms of giving everybody a little moment in time to think even about whether they're in the right place. But notwithstanding that, I mean, there's just opportunity is everywhere. And I think if you're in that mindset of I can't do this and I just can't do that, you're kind of training yourself to accept that what you have is what you'll always have, and that's it. Whereas if you just flip that on its head, I now see opportunity where I didn't see it before. And every conversation I have with someone now, to me, is an opportunity to either learn something about something that I didn't know, or help move something else on to its progression. And all of that's actually weirdly taking me further away from hospitality, as it were, but actually taking me further down the line, I suppose, into doing bigger world things. Creating
your legacy.
Yeah. And you know what? I don't have a clue what that is yet. But I find that really, really exciting.
And that's so important, because I speak to so many people who say, I haven't got a sense of purpose, and therefore that their lives feel purposeless. But the one thing that strikes me about you, and one of the things that I really admire you for, is you live your life with purpose. That whatever you're doing, you do with a full heart and you do full out. And I think that's the way to do it, to be excited about exploring what your purpose is, but in the meantime, to live every moment fully and to look for the opportunities.
And that actually comes down to me, I suppose, just being authentic with myself. If I'm really, really honest about who I am as a human being, I kind of know that this has been me the whole way through my life.
Yes.
That, that I am the sort of person who likes to explore, who likes to go and see what that new shiny thing might look like. Yeah. But I've suppressed that over the years, because that's not what allegedly, that's not what I should be doing if I'm to get on with a kind of regular life. But in actual fact, that makes up part of my natural makeup. Then let it free, let it go.
Isn't it interesting that, that what we believe we are supposed to be. And that conditioning often comes from chance remarks when we're children, from parents or teachers.
Yeah.
And it becomes a rigid structure that acts like a straitjacket. Well, once you recognize that actually this is about being true to yourself and being the best version of yourself, then the straitjacket comes off and the opportunities are there. I think
Absolutely.
so many people don't see them because they're not looking. They're looking down, or they're looking inward rather than looking out and seeing what the world has to offer them. And it's an amazing sort of smorgasbord of opportunities that sit there. Just look at it.
Absolutely.
If you hadn't decided to do the walk, then you would never be in contact with the production company of the TV.
It's crazy, isn't it, how things just have a habit of weaving together when you're open. And I think that the other key point for me, Gina, is around, I used to beat myself up a lot around if I wasn't making progress in something. And to me now, I'm really, really comfortable with the fact that some days I wake up and I just can't be bothered. You know, there are days whereby I make absolute headway, and you wake up the next day and you go, wow, that's amazing, and I'm really pumped for that. But there are some days where, I don't know, maybe you're fighting off a cold, or you're for whatever reason, stuff going on around you has just not put you in your greatest energy state. I just accept that that's going to be one of those days now, and that's not going to be my most productive day. But I used to beat myself up so much about, oh, you haven't achieved anything today. Yeah. But actually the thing that you achieve by listening to it is exactly that. Listen to your body. Let it be the judge of when you're ready to push and when you're not.
I think that's really important. What I would say, there's one caveat I'd add to that.
There's always a caveat.
There's always a caveat. And that is that, if you find that you can't be bothered day after day after day after day, you have to question your interpretation of what's going on.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that's a very key point. Yes.
And I think, there are men, it can become a habit, but in the same way that pushing yourself to the nth degree, that was my habit, is that, it didn't matter what the body was saying, that I would push too hard. And I think with all things in life, it's finding your route through so that there's a balance.
Yeah.
But ultimately, if you truly listen to your authentic voice, it won't take you in a wrong direction.
Yeah, but I think that's such a powerful point in itself. You generally know, I think, instinctively whether what you're choosing to do on any given day fits you or doesn't fit you.
Yeah.
And if you wake up every day and every day the thing that you're doing is not bringing you energy and it's not bringing you that fit, then you have to change something.
Yes. Yeah. And take care, and I'll see you on the next show. Bye-bye now.